Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
If you're just tuning into this show for the first time, usually when big news, whether it's big or not, it usually breaks after we come on with this show with Voice of the Land. Today, unfortunately, we have to change our plans on what we wanted to talk about because news broke before the show and we should talk about it. Boy, that Pro Bowl strikes again. It's such a ringing endorsement for the NFL. We'll talk about that right here. As Bobby Millsberg told you at the start of the show, this is the Voice of the Land. I'm Kevin Arnold. That is Always Positive Jay across the table from me, behind the proverbial glass and our TV screen so we can see our guests. We don't actually look like we're looking away from the camera. We can try to look into the camera and look at them when guests come on. It is our producer extraordinaire. What Jarvis was to Iron Man, audio is to the Voice of the Land. It is Peter Tellep. Boy, words are coming difficult to me to start the show. We're off to another great start like last week. I don't know. There's some sort of aura we got to get out of this room, but we will try to get that aura out of this room. There's an aura they got to get out of Berea because no matter what, there was really no football today. If you call flag football and the Pro Bowl football and that's what you wanted to watch, you bet on it because now, of course, sports gambling is legal in Ohio. You were watching it because you gambled on it or you were looking at prop bets, whatever it may be. If you want to call that football, fine. To each their own. Not going to tell you you're wrong. Just going to tell you, to me, that's not football, and I have no need to watch it. There was no football today. And who makes news? The Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett limps off the field at the Pro Bowl, dislocation of a toe, and x-rays were negative, as many reports have stated. Talking to our resident doctor before coming into the studio, that is, of course, my wife, Janet Fenstermaker. She is a doctor of physical therapy. She told me that's, they probably popped it back into place. He's going to be sore for a few weeks, maybe a little bit of therapy, but the physical freak that he is, I don't know that it'll interrupt too much of his off-season. It's
always something, isn't it? It's always something.
I don't know. Again, we know we could get this bad aura of not having words come to us when we need them to, or getting off the rails. We know we can easily get that out of here. It's kind of what makes this show. We are as professional as we can be. And I think that's what, I'm not going to say sets us apart from everybody else, but that's one element we try to bring that's different in the podcasting world, because podcasts were supposed to be a step away from talk radio, where the FCC says you can't use certain words.
For all wild west of radio talk.
You can't talk about certain conversations. And if you do, you have to really skate around it and be very conscious of the audience. It could be kids listening to you, people that find what you're talking about and turn off the radio. They find it offensive or disrespectful and they turn off the radio. Now you're losing fans that way. All of these things. Podcasts were supposed to be a step away. Well, when Nick Paulus and I started this a while back, and of course now Always Positive Jay on with us here at the Voice of the Land, the whole concept was, well, now this free-for-all element is becoming annoying. And it's bleeding back into radio and TV, where people are just yelling at each other and they're just trying to get ratings. They're saying those little words or trigger words to get ratings instead of having actual conversations. We try to be professional in the sense of not using certain language and talking about certain topics. But we get off the rails because we get into philosophical conversations or we just don't have a great show to start like we did last week. And I put us in a bad spot today. Hey, we're already off the rails. It's what makes us us.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way, Kevin. No way. I mean, it doesn't help that I got ADD. So half the time I just think of random things in my head. But yeah, I mean, I just still can't believe this happened today. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a minor injury and it won't be anything, but why does it just feel like this is supposed to be our quiet time? We're just relaxed. Let's watch the Cavs and just kind of relax as a sports fan.
We're up by 20 the last check.
We got to be in some pointless joke of games that they should just announce, wow, you're a Pro Bowler. Congratulations. You don't have to do anything. Maybe give them a big check and send them to Hawaii like they used to, but there needs to be no games. No one cares about the games. I heard it earlier this week on the radio, like they put it perfectly. Like, dude, you have everyone like listening to the draft and watching the draft. Unlike any other, there's no other sport does it like that. And there's 3 days of like nonstop coverage. Then you got the combine, nonstop coverage that we all watch. Then we have the free agent frenzies. We all watch that. Just let the Pro Bowl go, man. Just let it go. You don't have to have everything. Like,
well, they used to have the bye week, right? They used to,
Yeah.
it used to just be the bye week, and it's funny because there's an old Simpsons episode where they get tickets to go to the Super Bowl. You know, and they're joking. The sports commentators talking about the dreaded bye week that nobody enjoys, and all the B-roll footage is all the players just sunning themselves by the pool with the girls in the bikinis jumping in the pool. It's like no one enjoys that, you know. And it's like they got the Pro Bowl, and it's like it was barely a football game when it was a football game. Now the flag football stuff, I have no desire to watch it.
And it's still putting players, big time players, in threat of injury. Now, again, dislocated toe, probably not the most egregious of injuries. We will talk to Tony Grossi from ESPN Cleveland coming up
but I mean,
at 7:15 about this. We'll ask
the
him what
worst
he's hearing.
injuries are non-contact injuries usually.
Yes.
And that could happen doing
Yeah.
anything. Like, why are they putting these players at risk doing game? Like, I didn't even, dude, I'm a football holic. I watch not 1 second of any of this. Well, I didn't even know this happened until I came into the studio thinking, like you said, I had a total different show. Like, oh, we're going to have to change the subject. I'm like, well, what happened? And I should have just guessed it was Browns news. So I'm telling you, don't make me believe that we are cursed. Please don't make me believe that we're cursed.
Well, and look at it this way. The NFL is relevant I'm pretty sure every month out of the calendar year. If you look at January, you have the wild card divisional playoffs, the conference championships, plus the Senior Bowl if you're really into the draft. Then you go to February, you have the big game. Like, that's the lead up to it. It's the shortest month out of the year. And I think towards the end of the month, if not just right at the start of March, you have the combine. So now you get into March. March, what does that have? It has free agency, the new league year, free agency, people going elsewhere. In February, guys are also re-signing deals or getting franchise tag before free agency. So what you think is the free agency pool dwindles down. Go to April, the draft, the lead up to it, and then the draft. That's a huge thing. It's 3 days worth. May, rookie mini camp and OTAs, players coming together. June, you have your own mini camp, like your entire team mini camp, the prelude to your summer vacation going to training camp. July, end of July, training camp. August, preseason. September,
You're back to football.
Back to football, and the cycle just keeps going. So the NFL is already relevant every month. You don't need the Pro Bowl to keep that going. Now, if you really want something done, the stuff like on Thursday night, yeah, it's goofy. You can consider it stupid. They still allow people to bet on it. But if you want to highlight why these players made or were named a Pro Bowler, you show off their athleticism with some of these things, and then let them have some fun, kind of blow off some steam right towards the end of the actual NFL season, the week next coming up. Okay, maybe, but I don't know. The Pro Bowl game it's just gone by the wayside. It was cool to see Peyton Manning and Eli Manning kind of with their hijinks going through.
Here's what really messed it up. So you got the only thing that was a cool competition is that throwing competition with the quarterbacks, and none of the good quarterbacks were even in it.
Yeah.
Because you guys remember back in the day, they had the QB competition that they would have, and every major quarterback of that year was in it. There was all the stars, the longest throw, the target practice, and all that. Yeah, it just didn't have any of that hype at all.
I mean, most of the players don't go. The quarterbacks. Tyler Huntley was able to be a Pro Bowler.
Oh, my God.
Like, we didn't just drop into the reserves or alternates for the Pro Bowl. We dropped past the alternates for players to be there. Now, I know Huntley put on a bit of a throwing display, or that's what people led you to believe with the highlights they put up.
Well, look at who he was throwing against.
Nothing.
Nobody.
He's not throwing against
anybody or anything. So, like,
it's I don't know.
It was terrible.
I mean, how many minutes did you watch of Pro Bowl action?
None. Not a second.
Peter.
None.
Okay. We're all on the same page.
So combined between 3 people, they got not 1 minute, and we run a sports show. Hello, NFL. It ain't working. No one cares. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your money. You're better off. I probably having like a Madden tournament with these players going against each other. Or
I'd watch
like
that.
Esports.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't watch that either, but at least you're not hurting each other.
I might actually watch that. I'm not going to bet on it. I'm sure there would be betting odds for that too.
There's going to be betting on everything. Are you getting kind of sick of people talking about betting and seeing people's betting slips on Twitter?
It's the last thing you just said.
Yeah,
you know what?
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't
care what your betting slip are. Congratulations. Everyone's showing them now. It's like, oh.
I don't want to use the same terminology because I almost did of a segment that one of the shows in town uses. I'm not trying to borrow or steal one of their segments. I know it's the best form of flattery, but one of my biggest pet peeves about the essence, the black hole that is Twitter, is everybody's got to post their betting slip. Oh, it hit. Oh, it didn't hit. Oh, I just submitted this. What do you think? Just like, oh my gosh, I just did a mock draft. What do you think of my mock draft? Shut up. Nobody cares. If they care, it's only because there's some sort of like bot account or they're someone else that's going to post it. Get your own social media app. Take that off of Twitter. I'm sorry. I'm not trying. I know we say we don't try to tell people what to do, but stop. Like, oh, we don't have a first round pick.
Here's what annoys me about the betting slips is everyone shows you what they won. They don't show you the 5 losing slips they have prior to that. Everyone's pretending like all they're doing is winning. Like, no, dude, why don't you show your losing slip and how much you've actually lost compared to what you win?
And we're not. This isn't to say we're against sports betting. If there's any sports betting elements out there, no names, please. But if there's any out there that want to jump on with us here at the Voice of the Land, like we will gladly help promote that with Ohio now in having sports betting legal. Like not against sports betting. I'm just against the, oh, look at me. This is what I got. What do you think? I guess what? I have no reaction. It's
just like you said it perfectly. No one cares about your fantasy football leagues. No one cares about your betting slips. It's just
no one cares about your mock drafts. I don't care what player you got us in the 7th round. You know what? If your mock draft ends up getting us better players than our actual general manager does, especially in those later rounds when they're supposed to make their money, that's a problem. They're going to be gone. And guess what? The aura and Berea we talked about at the start of the show just continues, where regime after regime just comes in and nothing gets done. Nothing gets better. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia and Kansas City, guess what they get to talk about? Their team being good.
And the Kelsey boys, the Kelsey Bowl.
Before we head to break, and we'll get to like predictions towards the end of the show, what are your early thoughts on Eagles Chiefs?
Well, since while we're talking about betting, I would not bet on this game because, like I said it before, I don't know how good the Eagles are. I don't know if they're bad or they're good, if they're fugazi or not, because they look like they have a phenomenal team. Their defensive line's great, but I've pointed out I've yet to see them play a top-notch quarterback outside of Aaron Rodgers, but his Packers sucked, and he hasn't been good this year. Could they be really great? Sure, because they blew out everybody they were supposed to play, but I personally, I just want to bet on it. I think I'm more into the actual Kelsey story. I think it's really cool that you got these 2 brothers from our town. Of course, it's a Super Bowl, but Cleveland finds a way to get itself in the news.
Yeah, Cleveland Heights Tigers and Travis Kelsey, Jason Kelsey. Have you seen the jersey that their mom is going to wear? And has been wearing. I like the way that she split it. Remember, what was it? Brady Quinn and
AJ Hawk.
Yeah. What was it? Brady Quinn's sister?
Yeah. AJ Hawk was dating Brady Quinn's sister.
Yeah. So she had like that split right down the middle
Hers
of the jersey.
The front and the back.
Yeah. I kind of like
because it's Kelsey either way.
Yeah. I like the sleeve that, has like the full front and then the full back of each of the teams. Like I kind of like that jersey a little bit more. I like that split a little bit more. I'm not trying to downplay what we saw in that Notre Dame Ohio State matchup. I don't really care how you split your jersey if you're going to root for 2 sides. But I mean, these probably are, I won't say the 2 best teams. The biggest question is what we brought up last week. If Philadelphia gets tested, what happens? We'll continue to talk about that here on the show. We're going to hit a break, though, right here on the Voice of the Land. Coming up, we're going to talk to Tony Grossi, the Browns analyst for ESPN. Cleveland writes articles for the landondemand.com as well. We're going to get his thoughts on this Myles Garrett injury, the big game. He is heading out there for the days prior to the game. And what can the Browns do to put themselves in a position to be playing in a game like this or more important games in January and February next year? We'll get those answers next, right here on the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Whether you're looking to hire new talent or start a new career, Vector Technical has you covered. Vector Technical is a 28-year-old staffing firm that has helped thousands of job seekers advance in their career with reputable partners throughout Northeastern Ohio. Vector Technical is more than just a temp agency. With an above-average hire-in rate of 1 in 4 candidates, Vector works hard to connect the right person with the right opportunity the first time. Vector Technical hires for skilled manufacturing and light industrial work and is sure to have a career that you've been looking for. To learn more, visit our website at www.vectortechnicalinc.com.
Welcome back to the Voice Land right here on the Big Play Network. Kevin Arnold alongside always Positive Jay and Peter Tellep. And we are so graciously joined by Browns analyst for ESPN Cleveland, writes articles on landondemand.com. He is the one and only Tony Grossi. Tony, thank you so much for taking some time tonight right here for the Voice of the Land.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Jay. How are you tonight?
Not too bad. Well, came into the show ready to go. We had this plan, and then, we were going to ask you some questions about your career, but also the Browns. But I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't start with the news that came out prior to us jumping on here tonight. Your reaction to Myles Garrett getting hurt in a Pro Bowl flag football game, and any news that you have on maybe how long that injury could keep him out for this offseason workouts.
Well, it wasn't in the flag football game. It was in some gridiron, one of the other events, which him and Bitonio and Nick Chubb were a team, and it was some a mini obstacle course.
Okay.
And it involved climbing over
And then I think they climb,
barriers
crawl.
and underneath and over, and just stupid stuff.
It looked like a mini military training program.
Yeah. And he finished his segment and kind of limped off. It didn't look like anything major, but a dislocated toe is, listen, if it were during a season, he'd miss games because of it. But the Browns said x-rays were negative. It's just a joke. I mean,
Does this finally kill the Pro Bowl?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I mean, people are actually tuning into this stuff. They had over 1 million viewers the first night, and I'm sure there were more today. There's just nothing on TV. There's no sports other than, NBA and college basketball. There's no football. This is the one weekend without pro football since August. So football just has such a strong hold on everybody that this was the football fit, I guess.
And do you think, Tony, that stronghold that you talk about is why the NFL continues to put this out there? Jay and I were talking as we were going through the first segment. The NFL, even without the Pro Bowl, has something major in every month out of the calendar year, and it just continues to cycle through. But is it that stronghold that they want, or is there another reason this Pro Bowl just continues to hang on? They just adjust it every year.
Well, it's TV programming. They have to fill that time slot, and they're committed to it. That's what I don't know. Did ESPN show this, or was it NFL Network? One or the other. They have to have something in this time slot.
I wouldn't know. I didn't watch a second of it.
Yeah. Again, enough people did.
Because I heard you saying that it's all going to depend on the numbers, and I was praying that they were going to be low numbers. I'm like, please just get rid of this. I don't care. Make them play a Madden tournament or something. But with our Browns' luck, of course, we're the people that come out with an injury.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully by April, when they get back together again, it'll be totally forgotten and all that. But it's not like there was a famous Pro Bowl where I'm trying to think of the player who suffered a major injury, a Browns player. and it was back in the 80s. It was a major injury, like an ACL or something. It's not like that, but
Yeah.
still, it just kind of punctuates how silly this is, and it is programming. The only thing I watched was the long drive contest. Hats off to Jordan Poyer coming through with a 320-yard drive on this last swing of the competition. But other than that, I think they got to get rid. I think one result of this injury will be get rid of anything that could somehow injure you. You know, more water balloon tosses, more golf, anything but obstacle courses.
Yeah, Tony, I mentioned if anything sticks around with the Pro Bowl, it's the stuff on Thursday night. If you want to highlight the athleticism of these players, what got them to the Pro Bowl, what named them a Pro Bowler, some of that stuff does. I know some of it gets silly. They let you bet on all of it anyways, so people will tune into it. It's just that kind of stuff is probably where they need to stay. Anything, like you said, anything that could lead to an injury, the NFL doesn't need that, and they don't want that kind of bad press on them, do they?
No. I mean, listen, this was a freak fluke thing. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have, but it just reminds everyone how silly this whole thing is. They'll adjust. You know, the Peyton Manning and Eli Manning will get together, the executive producers, and come up with some. Maybe they ought to go, you know, pocket billiards, bowling, closest to the pin.
I wanted the old quarterback competition they used to do back in the 90s. Those were always cool. The old quarterback competition where they would get the actual good quarterbacks to play in them, and you'd have Bernie going against Jim Kelly and Troy Aikman and Brett Favre. Yeah. They do the longest throw, and then they'd have the moving targets, and you'd have to hit them. Yeah. I was a kid. I loved that.
The quarterback throw at this event was kind of interesting. I actually went back and watched today. They replayed it. Mm-hmm. So it's double programming for them. And I went and I found that kind of interesting.
Who was the best quarterback in there? That, like, big name wise, not that won the competition.
Well, Derek Carr was the star.
See, that's the problem. Derek Carr was the star of this thing. Like, I just labeled off all those guys that used to be in this, and now we got Derek Carr as the star. Yeah. And I think the biggest press conference is his post-game conference, not the whole actual event.
Yeah, he had a good line. Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is, as they say. it's TV programming, and I still think that players should be honored as Pro Bowlers, you know, all-stars for a given season. But when you get Tyler Huntley in there, it just undermines the whole idea of honoring, you know, the season's best players.
Well, so now we know that Myles Garrett goes into the offseason program, rehabbing an injury coming out of this Pro Bowl. But the Browns are in their offseason, and they've gone in the offseason earlier than some of the teams, more often than not playing in high pressure games in January and February. Tony, I know that you wrote on thelandondemand.com this week about defensive line more so than secondary needing the most help. And you list a lot of free agents. We don't know which teams will hang on to who or franchise tag who. But how can Jim Schwartz, and you mentioned in the article, but how can Jim Schwartz help with the defensive line deficiencies that we saw this season?
I think he'll be a big help. In fact, I think that's why one of the many reasons he was hired, his expertise at defensive line. His defense has always maximized defensive linemen. And, I think the shift in resources will go towards the offensive line now. They've been very heavy at secondary. And as Jim pointed out in his introduction last month, guys are just too difficult to cover anymore. And all the rules are against defensive backs. So, I mean, you need good players back there. But the best way to affect an offense is with pass rush. And in that little sentence, the best way to produce a pass rush is right up the middle.
I completely
agree. The Browns have suffered.
See, I remember when the Giants beat what looked like the greatest team to walk on the field is that Patriots team that was just blowing everybody out the water. And my buddy asked me before the Super Bowl goes, who do you think is going to win? I go, Patriots overall have a better team, but the Giants have a defensive line that is absolutely ferocious. And if you have that, I don't care how good your quarterback is. If you only got 2 seconds to throw, and if not, you're getting hit, you're done. And we have Myles Garrett on this team, and I would just love to see them finally develop and put an elite line around him to bring out his true talent. How do you think they're going to address that more? Via free agency, trade, or combination of everything else?
Well, I think free agency is almost the only way they could address it. First of all, trade. Teams don't like trading good defensive tackles. I mean, the Browns tried to acquire a defensive tackle in November at the trade deadline, and the price was just out of the stratosphere. Rookies do not, at that position, do not have immediate impact, unlike some other positions like running back or wide receiver or even quarterback. Think about defensive tackles that have Quinnen Williams of the Jets, who was a high draft pick. Only now in his 4th and 5th year is he considered one of the best in the league. Deron Payne, who's one of the best free agents this year, is 5 years into the league before he got to that point. So you're going to have to get immediate impact, I think, through free agency, especially defensive tackle. And I think that's what they'll do, Jay. They'll pursue 2 defensive tackles in free agency. I think one will be a very high-priced one, and the other one might be a 1-year rental, prove-it deal. And they need veteran help up there. They could have a top 10 pick in this draft, which they don't. But if they had a top 10 pick and they drafted a defensive tackle, he's not going to have the impact that Deron Payne will have, or Javon Hargrave, who may be free also. So I think they'll go that route in free agency.
I also think that it'll help hold like other players accountable if they bring a veteran in there. I'd like to see Fletcher Cox. I think he's a free agent, and after he's been there, he's won a Super Bowl, he's back at a Super Bowl. He's played under Schwartz before, and I don't think he's going to let guys just take plays off or anything like that. Like, you won't get a Jadeveon Clowney doing what he did with those kind of guys in that locker room.
Well, Cox, I think, is 33. I do think tackles can go a little longer than ends, but we don't know if he's going to be truly available. Mm-hmm. His contract runs out after the Super Bowl. He may retire. He may they may re-sign him for a year or something like that.
Looking at mock drafts, I think they have a pick at 10. They keep mocking a defensive tackle to them at 10.
Who?
The Eagles, because they have 2 first-round picks and one's at 10, and they keep mocking one of the defensive tackles to them.
Because they keep on rolling them over. They drafted Jordan Davis last year. You didn't hear much about Jordan Davis as a rookie. He was the best defensive tackle in the draft. So he's a guy in the coming years you'll be hearing more about. That goes to my point about they don't have immediate impact. Mm-hmm. I would rather have Javon Hargrave, whose contract is up, just because he's a little younger. He's 30. And I don't know what his future is either, but who knows? They may re-sign them both. We'll know at the beginning of March the actual official free agent list.
Tony Grossi from ESPN Cleveland is our guest here tonight on The Voice of the Land. And Tony, we're talking about free agency, and a lot of people, they hear that and then they think that the Browns don't have much cap space. We know that the Browns can always readjust contracts, specifically the one that they signed with Deshaun Watson. Do you think that do you expect to see a restructure of the Watson deal where, he's still able to get some of his money, but it kind of opens up cap space this offseason? Do you expect Watson and the Browns to be open to that?
For sure. There's going to be a few restructuring, and all that does is convert salary into cash. And if you have an owner that has the cash and is willing to do it, it's a simple procedure. And the player gets all his money. It's just that he gets it sooner than he would. And it reduces his salary cap number. So I think Watson will be restructured. I think Myles Garrett could be restructured. I think Denzel Ward could be restructured. Any of those bigger contracts, Wyatt Teller or Petonio, it's easy. That's the easiest part of Andrew Berry's job this year, is to create cap room. Anybody can do it. It's easy. The players don't agree, they don't agree to a reduction. They're getting cash up front as opposed to paychecks over the course of the year. So that'll be done. That'll create enough room, and I don't think salary cap room is going to be a problem in pursuing free agents. I think it does become a problem in keeping your own, in addition to that, and you can't add too many big ticket items, that's for sure, because this is the first year in like 5 they go into this offseason above the cap before any restructuring, and those days are long gone of being the leader in salary cap room. And that didn't get them anywhere anyway. So we'll see how Barry's job gets a lot tougher.
Well, and let's say that Barry is able to restructure Watson and a few other deals, open up that cap space we're talking about outside of defensive tackle, defensive line. What else can the Browns do this offseason, Tony, to put themselves in position, or at least have the opportunity, be in the best position possible to be playing these meaningful games in January, or be resting this week, preparing for the biggest game? What can they do for that quicker turnaround this offseason?
Well, they need, I said 2 defensive tackles, I think. I think they need a defensive end, someone to replace Clowney and Chase Winovich, and a linebacker. And that could be another 1-year deal.
One bigger than Kevin.
What's that?
A linebacker that's bigger than Kevin.
Yeah, bigger than me, Tony. You've seen my frame,
You'd like him closer to Jay's size.
Yeah.
Even our producer, you can't see Peter. He's a big guy. We want him more towards Peter's size. 6'4", 2 something.
I think that's the extent of free agency. Those 3 positions. And then you could use the draft. They definitely need a speed receiver. Now, I don't think they need DeAndre Hopkins. He's a fashionable name. He's 30. He's not as fast as what they need. He comes at a very high price. He's Amari Cooper. I mean, you already have that player. I think they need to get he needs to hit a bullseye in the draft with a speedy receiver, 2nd round. Get these guys in their rookie contract. They've tried. They just have failed. David Bell, Anthony Schwartz, DPJ is good, but they still need more speed there. So I think that's where you get the receiver in the draft, and then use the rest of the draft to fill in spots, pretty much. But I'd go defense and free agency and receiver in the draft.
As the general of the 100-year war, you've seen it all. Outside of the win-loss record, what is the biggest difference between the Browns team before the move and after the move? And what do you think they could do to get back to the good old days where we were perennial winners all the time?
Well, the move caused the complete change of culture, and it hasn't been reestablished. I mean, we know what the Browns were. I mean, they were being coached by Belichick. They had one of their best teams ever in 1994, and then 3 years later, we're out of football, and then 3 years after that, came back as an expansion team. So it's a complete reboot, and they never have established the culture that that was established by Paul Brown. I mean, that was 40 years in the works. You can't just, snap your fingers and say, okay, we're the Browns, let's pick up where we left off. That obviously didn't happen. So they need continuity. They need direction. They need.
How do they get that? Like, it's been driving me nuts as a fan forever. Like, what do they have to do to establish a good culture besides, everyone says, just win, but it seems like these players, they don't have the care that the old teams did. They playing for the Browns meant something to them. They didn't like the Steelers. They hated the Steelers. And it feels like this team hasn't truly embraced the history and culture of the city. Do you ever feel the same way?
All the time, Jay. All the time. I mean, we did. Those of us who were still here in the 90s when the Browns moved to Baltimore, I mean, the mayor, all the fans, they fought to keep the history here, the colors, the team, the history. And then when the new franchise started up, they didn't respect the history and the culture and all that. So, and we've gone through, 3 different owners since they've been back. Mr. Lerner, his son, Randy Lerner, and now Jimmy Haslam. And I think this current ownership is further away from the Browns history than, when we started back in '99. So I don't know how you get it back, but they've got to establish their own history, I guess. It's the best you could hope for. And that entails just winning every year and being more consistent and not firing everyone after, a bad year.
Yeah, like you said, Tony, it comes right now. It's just hope to see that change. They can tell us that it's going to. They tell us that all the time. We have to see it and hope that it does change. Tony, we appreciate you coming on tonight. We can't let you go until you give us your prediction. Now we're not going to hold you to your prediction for the Super Bowl, your VTL prediction. I'm sure Riz will hold you to yours, and they'll hold you to yours on RBS later this week. But your prediction, where do you stand a week out from the Super Bowl? Philadelphia versus Kansas City. Who has the edge? Who gets the win?
I think Philadelphia is a more complete team, but the quarterback situation can even it out, right? Jalen Hurts has had a great year, but he's had a tough couple games since he's been back after his shoulder injury. Everything's new to him. He's a young player versus Mahomes, his 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. We saw he was a hero in the AFC Championship game. I think the Eagles right now, if I were picking today, I would pick the Eagles, but also know that if it's a close game, Mahomes could come through, and Hurts can do the opposite and give it back. So I think it's going to be a good game. Right now, I'm leaning Eagles, but I'll feel a little, I'll get a feel for it while we go out there this week and talk to players and stuff. But
I'm very curious about the Eagles.
Is an interesting player that I haven't had a lot of exposure to. So
yeah, I looked at the Eagles schedule.
How he'll react to this game,
And the Eagles schedule, that I think the toughest game they've beat was the Jaguars this year. So they blew everybody out like they should. But I'm curious what they are, because their defense is built to have play on a lead. And with Mahomes, it's almost impossible to get a big lead on them.
Well, everyone says this is a quarterback league and all that. Hurts is not the best player on the Eagles.
Yeah.
Mahomes is far and away the best player on the Chiefs. So that position alone can change the outcome. But I think the Eagles are very, very strong everywhere else. And Hurts may come through in his, shining moment. So I can see anything happening in this game.
That's why I wouldn't bet on this game. I wouldn't touch it.
I think the biggest long shot of anything is the Chiefs, blowing them out by 2 scores.
Yeah.
But I can see the Eagles winning by that. I can see it as a close game. I could see the Chiefs squeaking by, but I just can't see the Chiefs dominating. But I can see the Eagles dominating.
Well, Tony, we know you have a busy week ahead of you. You got travel. You're heading out to Arizona, of course, not staying for the game, but have a lot of work to do. Any chance for any golf, swinging a golf club out there in Arizona for you?
No, I'm not Tony Rizzo. I'm Tony Rizzo. No, I don't think so. I don't think so for me. But hats off to anyone who could squeeze it in. But
maybe you can get to a driving range at least.
Morning, afternoon, and night at a Super Bowl.
Well, Tony, we wish you safe travels. We thank you so much for taking time to come on the show here tonight. Always welcome anytime. And I'm sure I'll talk to you at some point down the line as well at the station. Thank you.
All right, Kevin, Jay, thanks for having me.
The pleasure's all ours.
And that is Tony Grossi from ESPN Cleveland. You can read his articles on thelandondemand.com. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we will react to what Tony said. We also, Cavs just finished up. We'll talk a little Cavs and a big trade happened in the NBA. We'll get to all that right here on the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Are you struggling to hire the right talent or maybe even find the right career? Vector Technical makes it easy. Since 1992, Vector has provided Ohio employers with a reliable process for hiring and have helped thousands of job seekers advance in their careers. Vector Technical is more than just a temp agency. We invest time to get to know each client and candidate personally. Vector places people in job opportunities that they are truly excited about. Interested in learning more? Visit our website at www.vectortechnicalinc.com to see a full list of our current job opportunities and to find out what Vector Technical can offer you.
Get your gear at voiceoftheland.com/shop.
Welcome back to the Voice Land right here on the Big Play Network. We just had Tony Grossi, the Browns analyst from ESPN Cleveland, on to talk all things Browns. We started by talking Myles Garrett's injury, but I think Tony shed a lot of light on what the Browns will look to do this offseason with free agency, restructuring of contracts to get that money available. And really, it does start with that defensive line. I think we were all on board for that. But hearing kind of Tony break it all down and how Jim Schwartz has been able to get the best out of defensive lines in the past, and that's what he's known for. Yeah, he had some success in Detroit as a head coach, but where he's really made his mark is on the defensive side of the ball, and he has that head coaching experience. He has that leadership ability, things that Kevin Stefanski can learn from him. I think that can really go a long way.
I mean, he's done it everywhere he's gone. I think 3 or 4 different stops, and it's literally the defensive line is just elite every time, and he produces a all-pro, not a Pro Bowler, an all-pro defensive tackle almost every time, every year. And again, I'm excited for him. Like, I tried to always I was going to say last time, I was like, all right, I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to get excited. And then I did it again, and I got hooked.
Yeah, I'm not getting excited by it. Again, someone that's covered it for a long time. I know, not going to get into any of it. I know that, Tony blocks a lot of people, and for good reason, but he's been doing this for a long time. He has covered this team for a long time. The way that Tony presents things and how much football the amount of football he'll forget is
more than we'll know,
more than we'll ever know, just because he's been around it for so long. And deep in his heart, he's as much of a fan as all of us are. He has to, just like we try to do on the show, he is one of the ultimate professionals to look up to here in Cleveland sports industry. I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me. That's okay. Don't really care about that.
I have a theory on that.
Why? What do you think?
I think Tony Grossi gets slack from the failures of the Browns. Truly believe that. Everyone's like, oh, he's negative. He's negative. Like, dude, they've sucked since they've been back. Like, what do you want him to say? Something positive about 0-16 seasons.
Everybody's got to find that scapegoat. And then they also find that person to latch onto. And if you talk bad about him, then, you're. And
here's even when we had Baker, he did not want Baker. And he was pretty verbal about it. And then when we got Baker and everyone gave him crap. And then Baker gave him crap. After Baker did good, Tony came around and was like, I was wrong. And he was positive about him. And he tried to even befriend Baker, and Baker just kept being a jerk to him. Yep. No one says anything about that. No one ever mentions that on Twitter. They just constantly with the hate and the hate.
Yep.
Like, dude, I implore any of you to meet the man. And I guarantee you will think differently after talking to him.
I mean,
he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And he'll take time out of his day to talk to any fan about Browns. He doesn't cut you short. He doesn't blow you off. He's just a really nice dude. He's super professional. I'm sorry our football team sucks and he has to report it. It's not his fault. He's not controlling the outcome of this team. He's trying his best to make it good.
It's not Mary Kay's fault. It's not Tony's fault. It's not Darrell Ryder's fault. It's not any of those. It's not the media's fault. There's one person. There's really
we're like one of the nicest medias of all sports.
If you want a scapegoat, there is a person you can go to. It's just they're not going to sell the team.
Yeah,
it's the owners.
It's always
what is the constant in all of this? It was ownership before. I'm not trying to really rag on the learners or anything. Just from an ownership standpoint, rest in peace to Al Lerner.
Was getting it together. He learned. He was actually on the right track. And unfortunately passed away.
Yes.
And his son, he's a good dude, but it wasn't in his heart. He wasn't in it. Yeah. And the Haslams are learning. I just hope to God they're learning.
But at some point, just like with the Cavs, and we'll get to them here in a second, the young tag for the Cavs has to come off at some point. Yes, I know that they have a lot of young players, but that go to that as a excuse, scapegoat type reason, that has to go away. The Haslam's learning how to run a football team and own a football team. When they learn from the Rooneys, Steelers are a great organization. They have great ownership. The Haslam's learned from them. Okay, they were going to make their mistakes because they were now at the forefront. They've made those, but now the mistakes continue. Can you get it right? Did you get it right by leaving Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry at the helm of this organization? Did you get it right to give them another chance and just help fix some other pieces behind them and allow them to fix those pieces from a football standpoint? Only time will tell. Everything, I'm not going to get excited by things that they tell us. That's all we're going to have. We're going to have guys running around in shorts. We're going to have press conferences. That's all we're going to have until September. Talk to me in September about excitement level. And I mean, like a couple games into September, not just before the season. We'll probably have that conversation because we do that segment every single year. Everybody does that segment. Mm-hmm. How excited are you for the season? Schedule game. Yeah. All season. Woo.
You got to do it. Got to do it.
Got to do it. Well, we don't have to because we do whatever the hell we want on the show. It's just, I can at least acknowledge when the right things are done. And the right thing was done by bringing Jim Schwartz in here. Now you got to do the next right thing and the next right thing. It's not just one thing and you get everybody back. I'm sure that there's the black hole of Twitter. I'm sure those people are already back and they're, always positive. And I'm not playing on your name. We are as realistic as we can be. And
well, that's what I tell people all the time. Like, they're like, oh, that's not positive. I'm like, no, once I started doing podcasting, my sports takes are going to be my sports takes. My positivity is going to be actions I do in life. And that's just the difference.
And when you say always positive, Jay, like you're talking about life. You're not just talking about the sports teams. And again,
and part of it is like when they lose, letting go and just enjoying life and being happy about their life and not yelling at poor defenseless media members.
Yeah.
I get legitimately mad at some people. Like I was talking to one of the media members and he made a pick 'em and he picked the Steelers and he was getting death threats. I'm like, are you serious? Like, he's like, oh, it happens all the time. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Like,
I don't know.
You're not even playing on the damn team. Why are you so upset? I don't get it, dude. Some people, they need to seek help. That's just the truth.
You guys,
and I'm not trying to be mean. Like, seriously, some people just need to seek help.
You guys know how much scarlet and gray runs through these veins, along with the white and gold and the brown and orange and the red, white, and blue of the Guardians. Like, how much
like your veins look like one of those like pins that click different colors.
Yeah. We call it a Santa pen.
I don't remember what they're called. I never got them. I was poor.
Just for any of the kids out there, we'll explain that off the show. That's not something to explain on the show, but we call that our household a Santa pen. We're getting set for the Santa pen, and I'll explain that later. But I would have, if I was a betting man, which I'm not right now, I as much as I would hate to do it in college basketball, what's the smart choice? Ohio State played that team up north in college basketball today. Who would have been the smart choice? Ohio State's not playing well this year. It would have been that team up north. Sorry, I hate to say it. I'm not going to say their name, but for people to go,
that's the thing. Like, you don't say their name. Half my family's from Michigan. I don't care. I'll say their name. It doesn't bother me. I don't hate the state. I just like making fun of them. But like, if someone ever gave me crap, they can't say Michigan, I'd be like, I just don't care. Like,
if realistic sports takes taking the fan blinders off, we all put them on. We all get tickets. We all go to the games, and that's your time to kind of release and be that fan, be the fanatic out there. Rest in peace to one of the ultimate fans of the teams who was just laid to rest, John Adams. Like, that is your time to release. But when media members have to report on it, when people need to make picks, it's not about like who you're a fan of. If you're betting, you're putting not necessarily a lot of money on the line, but you're putting money on the line, whether it's pizza money or a lot of money, like the Mattress King. Hey, you're going to more so bet with your head than you're going to bet with your heart, but you're going to root with your heart. And we're always going to root with our hearts here. We're going to root for our teams to be successful. Well, when the mistakes happen, we're going to talk about them, call them out, not to be negative, but to be real. And be as real as we can from our perspective. And however you feel, talk to us. You've probably seen it. We've had conversations with people on Twitter. we are willing to do that. We don't just, you reply and then we don't respond to you. If we don't respond right away, it's because Jay, Peter, myself, we all lead busy lives, but we will try to respond. And if we have a difference of opinion, that's what makes this beautiful. That's what makes this whole thing beautiful. That's why we love sports, because you can have so many different opinions. It brings so many different people together. And it's what society should look like too, honestly. And sports, just like society, has not always looked the way we want it to. On that note, we are going to talk about the Cavs. We got 10 minutes left in the show. We will get out by 8 o'clock tonight. I promise you that. We will talk Cavs and the NBA on the other side and close with our Super Bowl predictions. Which way are we leaning? Tony Grossi went Philly. You'll find out our picks coming up right here on the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Are you looking for a career in manufacturing? Vector Technical has you covered. Vector Technical is a 28-year-old staffing firm that has partnered with some of the biggest and the best companies throughout Northeastern Ohio. The recruiters at Vector Technical will coach you through the entire job process and will help you land an opportunity that you are truly excited about. Vector does not add any additional fees and offers benefits as well as free online skills training through Penn Foster. To learn more, visit www.vectortechnicalinc.com and make sure to check out our job board to see a full list of our current opportunities and apply.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Land. One final time on this Sunday evening, February 5th, 2023, already into February. Each year just seems to go by faster and faster, and that's just what time does as you get older and older.
If we could just get through February and March real quick, that'd be nice.
I mean,
I just hate the weather. I can't stand the weather these 2 months.
Get to March 25th and 26th, and we'll be good.
What is that?
Well, I guess 4th. I should say March 4th if I'm going to say the 25th. But the 25th is one half of our baby shower. But that's like up here in Cleveland. We're going to do March 4th. We're going to do with in-laws, family. We're going to be able to split it this time on like the bridal shower. So, trying to piece all that together. But March 26th, I mean, like, it's my birthday. I guess.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Cricket.
Look like, all right.
He'll just skip my birthday.
Yeah, like who cares about his birthday?
Yeah. Well, Peter, you get to go to Disney, so
True,
you know what?
true.
You
You get to go to Disney.
Yeah.
I thought we're not going as a crew.
know,
Man,
no,
You want to go on the bus with the band?
22-hour bus ride.
is it paid for?
No,
you gotta pay.
I had to pay for the privilege to chaperone
had to
a
pay
bunch
for-
of high school band kids. Yeah.
He had to pay for Jacob and for himself. So
Yes.
So they got to pay me to do the chaperoning.
yeah, well, that's not gonna. We're not at that level yet.
Not yet.
I'd have been
Not
fine
yet.
if they just would have covered the cost of it, but I mean,
I swear we're not trying to avoid talking about the Cavs because the Cavs are the great thing in town right now, and they got
As I wear a bunch of Guardians gear.
That's
today.
all right. That's another great team.
Yes.
The trucks are back. The trucks to Arizona to spring training.
Man, I would love to go to spring training one day. That would be awesome. That'd be a hell of a vacation, I think.
I should go down there. My parents aren't far. My parents live not far from.
They got like a guest house or anything.
They got an extra room. I'm sure.
Just one room.
Yeah.
Damn.
They'll fold that couch.
We'll get our own place. We'll get some hotel rooms.
Well, the Cavs are trying to get their own place in the playoff positioning.
Big win today.
Big win today. I know Indiana is below 500, but that's a team that has played the Cavs tough already this year. They have some young scorers that
You did what you had to do against a team that
and you
you're
got to
supposed to beat.
you got to stack road wins is what this Cavs team has to do. No
That's
matter
for damn sure.
who it is against. They haven't had success on the road. You start to see wins stack upon each other on the road. You gain more confidence, and so when you go into a better team's building, you already have the confidence that, hey, we can shut up their crowds just like we've shut up other people's crowds. It was 122 to 103. Darius Garland, another big night for the Cavs, 24 points and 6 assists.
Is this the first game since the fight?
Yeah, this is the first
Because
game.
dude,
Reaction
you know
to
me,
that.
dude. If they would have left Mitchell in just like when we went to 71, I would have felt bad for the other team because that dude would have just destroyed that team. He was so mad. Screw Dylan Brooks, you dirty SOB. But man, they've been saying it all week. I'm so excited to see what that does to this team because man, they were getting punked, pushed around, and they just weren't having any of it.
Now, you guys know I'm a Duke fan.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I would, and they got the win against UNC. So
That
we
was
didn't make a bet on that one.
I know. I'm just
that was a good end of the game. I watched the end of that game.
I didn't get a chance to watch them or
I think both teams
United
kind of
this
suck
weekend,
this year, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're not.
That's
they're,
so weird that like Duke and UNC aren't good.
yeah, they're not great in the ACC or just
I mean,
in general.
I don't like Duke, but I want them to be good because I love when you get like number 1 Duke versus number 2
it's
UNC.
like Ohio State team up north. Like
Yeah,
when both
yeah.
teams are good for those rivalries, for those sports, like it raises the level of people paying attention.
Yeah, and
to those
I mean,
sports.
they've won enough now. Now they can start losing again for like 12 in a row. But yeah, it's good it's all right for the rivalry for them to have a couple once in a while. But
Right. Now, I would actually describe Dylan Brooks as the most Duke player that never went to Duke. Just like a Grayson Allen and a Christian Leitner. That's who Dylan Brooks is. And I'm a Duke fan, and I would still describe him that way because I don't like those players that went to Duke either. Trust me, I don't. I hate Grayson Allen. I really don't like Christian Leitner. And watching a lot of documentaries about him or with him in it, I don't really like Christian Leitner. I'm sure he's like a nice guy outside the basketball floor, but hey, perception is.
I would have loved to
sometimes
see how the
reality.
Dream Team treated him.
I don't think well.
Yeah, I don't think so. You're like, who the hell is this kid?
I don't think.
Like you look at that team and then you're like, who doesn't fit in? You're like,
Christian Leitner. But getting back to the Cavs, of course. I mean, I love how the Cavs responded in that Memphis game, and I definitely wanted to see them win today and not with this back and forth win loss type thing. I wanted to see them stack another win after that because I feel like that can give them a little juice because his Donovan Mitchell stood up for himself. The team stood up for their leader, one of their leaders, the best player on the team. Bench didn't get involved, but the people on the floor, they handled that. And the way that the equipment manager or whoever it was attacked with Dylan Brooks, I mean, kudos to him. Maybe he could play linebacker. He's right. Fits
that was a hell
right.
of a hit. That was a hell of a hit.
It fits right in with the small stature of our linebackers. Yes, I just took a shot. I'm sorry. But hey, you needed to get this win 2 days removed. You had a couple days off. So like the energy that you felt, the adrenaline you felt, you had 1 day to let that wear off, another day to get the mind refocused. Then come into this game. You got, I think, 5 games in 7 days this week, only 2 days off, back to back today and tomorrow, off on Tuesday, Wednesday, off on Thursday. And I think they play Friday and Saturday back to back as well. And so the schedule doesn't get any easier. You're going to have a tough test getting to the All-Star break. There is a trade deadline coming up too. We saw a big trade in the NBA today. Did the Cavs make a deal? Yes or no?
No, I do nothing.
Peter, do you think the Cavs make a deal?
I don't think so.
See, I think they do, but I don't think it's not like an all-in type thing. They're not at that
I was going to
point
say,
yet.
if it was a move, it's a small move, a tweak move.
But I think that they know that they need to tweak the wings. Now, Isaac Okoro had a big game today. He's been starting.
He's coming around, man.
He's coming around, starting to shoot the 3 ball a little bit better, and that's what you're going to have to do. You can defend all you want. You can have the athleticism and jump out of the gym, but if teams are going to be able to leave you all alone in the corner and you can't knock down that 3 that helps you extend a 5-point lead out to 8, an 8-point lead out to 11, that gives you more of a hold of the game, that's a problem. Him and Lamar Stevens started the season where that was a problem. Now, Lamar Stevens hasn't really picked it up, but Isaac Okoro has. So if you see a tweak, I think it's that 3-and-D, that wing player.
Him and Rubio coming back. Rubio is really coming back along.
Guess we're not getting out of here by 8 either.
No, and
we got a couple more things to get to, but that's fine.
But it's just the pace of how he moves the ball and comes up with it. Like he's a great third point guard. I'm so glad he's back.
Yep.
And Dean Wade, once he starts getting rolling again, like I'm really liking the future of this team.
Yeah.
And how you said earlier,
we need that.
They're not a
stretch
young
floor out
team
there.
anymore. I don't think. Like I would judge it like last year they were like a 9-10-year-old young kid. Now we're a teenager. We know right from wrong, but we're still going to make mistakes, but we have higher expectations for ourselves. Our next move, we got to get to college, and that's when our playoff run comes. After we get our education in college, the following year, I want to see them start going for that.
Yeah.
The big job, AKA win a championship.
Now, I mean, I know they took the big swing this offseason to trade for Donovan Mitchell, but if they need to take another big swing to tip the scales over the edge to really be in that top echelon of the Eastern Conference and the NBA. Dan Gilbert and this ownership group, this organization has shown that they're willing to do that and go into the luxury tax to do so. I don't know that this is the year, but I think to push your way into the playoffs, to get that playoff series experience, even win a playoff series or two, I think a little tweak on the wings could go a long way. And I know today's win was a little lopsided, but there were moments, and we were watching the game in the third quarter, there were moments in today's game where Pacers scored 38 points in the third quarter. That would be a game earlier on in the season when the Cavs weren't closing out games. They would get a kind of a big lead, and then they'd allow that one big quarter, or they'd start making a bunch of mistakes. Cavs scored 36. So, yeah, they were outscored, but they were only outscored by 2. They were up 16.5. They were only up 14 going into the fourth quarter. They win by 19 today. Closed out the game the way that they should. They had the control of the game. They maintained that control. Now they get to move on to tomorrow and try to maybe stack another win in the back-to-back scenario. When your legs are tired, mental focus is going to be key. The big news of the day in the NBA, though, is, hey, NFL not playing. NBA says, we got your back. Kyrie Irving requested a trade just 2 days ago from the Brooklyn Nets. And I said I didn't think he was going to get traded because it was so close to the trade deadline. Somehow they got a trade done. He goes to Dallas. I'm sorry, Luka.
How do you even follow that up? You're just like, that's just perfect. Like, I'm sorry, Luca. You don't know what you're dealing with, but you're gonna have to deal with this, dude.
A little backstory to that. I gave Jay, I told Jay and Peter in the break, I was like, I have 3 words to describe the trade of Kyrie to Dallas. I'm sorry, Luka. I'm so sorry. We got the best Kyrie.
Without a doubt.
This Kyrie just continues to go to teams. They implode. He requests a trade. He gets traded. He
never wants to finish a contract, dude. Why even sign a contract?
I don't
doesn't
know.
honor them. That drives me nuts.
I have no idea. And his talent is what is having teams still interested in doing it. And of course, it's,
see, dude, if you're playing under someone that like the former Clippers owner or like the Washington football team's owner, and you request a trade, and you're like, I just don't want to play for this dude. I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. I understand it's and if you have like a real reason, not because they don't want to re you up. So, dude, guess what? You signed a contract to finish the year. They don't want to re you up, but they still signed you to the end of this year, and you're just gonna quit. Like,
I probably get a lot of hate for this. I don't think Kyrie cares about basketball as much as he puts on. I don't think he cares. I think the time that he cared about basketball in his career was when he was here, and when he requested that trade, everything changed for Kyrie. And Kyrie, yes, showed his true colors. He can think whatever he wants. Like, he has his beliefs. He stands up for things. He is a proponent of social change, which is good, but it's just annoying at this point. It doesn't work. It's not doing this.
He's just like Aaron Rodgers, man.
Yeah.
He walks in the room. He thinks he's the smartest person in the room. And in reality, he's the dumbest person in the room. I'm sorry, dude. The dude thinks the world's flat.
Yeah, it's beyond ridiculous. Like, we look back at those podcasts, the road tripping podcasts, and some of those times that Kyrie came on, we laugh at some of the things he said, because then you heard all the other things and like how great this team was and like how much camaraderie they had and all of that. But you look back and you're like, that was the start. That was the start of Kyrie, like, allowing people to see who he really was. But it's not helping a basketball organization. If you really cared about basketball, you'd be trying to help basketball organizations. It didn't work in Boston. Boston Celtics, that's one of the storied franchises of the NBA. It didn't work in Brooklyn with KD, one of the best players in all of the league. You're one of the best point guards, one of the best shooters in all the league, and it didn't work. Where is the commonality there? It's not with the people that were there. It's not those organizations, because Boston's been on the uptick since they got rid of them. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Brooklyn go on the uptick. They got Spencer Dinwiddie. I know Dorian Finney-Smith, a lot of picks with it. But, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie is one of those off-the-bench kind of guys that you can play with.
I wouldn't be surprised if Brooklyn turns around, takes those picks they just got, and trade for someone this year.
Yeah, I'm sure that helped them with some more assets to try to go for it, too, because they've Maybe they feel like they got rid of the one thing holding them, the other thing holding them back. They felt like Steve Nash was.
I mean,
now they got rid of the other piece. Now there's no more excuses for Brooklyn either. Yeah, you don't have as talented of a team, but now maybe you can actually work on team concepts and what it means to be a team.
Off.
I hope they fall off too.
I really hope they fall off.
But I'm not going to be surprised if they don't.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then you get more evidence to what the commonality is of the situations with Kyrie requesting a trade. It's been Kyrie. It hasn't been the team he's been on. Before we go, big game coming up next Sunday. We are not going to have a show, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. It'll be NBA All-Star Weekend, but we will be back in 2 weeks with the show. There's no point in us doing a show next week. We got the crunch on Saturday.
The Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah. Families are going to be together. Parties are going to be going on. Please enjoy responsibly. But hey, we kind of talked about it early. We know that Philadelphia, the biggest question about them, when they get tested, if they go down, what does their resolve look like? What is their battle back against adversity look like? For Kansas City, what does Patrick Mahomes look like with now having 2 weeks where he can rehab that ankle instead of just one, and will be in a controlled weather environment out there in Arizona? What will that look like? Jay, I will start with you. Your big game, I guess we can say Super Bowl, Super Bowl.
Superb owl.
Yes, that's what Peter says. That's what
the
audio
bowl
says.
that's very super.
Yes. What is your prediction?
Chiefs 32, Eagles 28. Mahomes uses magic at one more time on a game-winning drive.
Peter / audio.
It's tough because I don't know enough about the Eagles, and I think Jay has brought up good points of we don't know really how good they are. Definitely
or how bad they are.
Or how bad they are. Yeah.
I really don't know what they are. That's what I'm saying.
So I think it's going to be a close game. I hope it's a close game, honestly. I really think Mahomes will probably pull some amazing feat, where he's tripping and flings the ball like it should be intercepted, or
he does things that you see in the game streets.
Yeah, it just doesn't even make sense. And I think somehow they'll pull it out. I think it is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be within a field goal, like a field goal wins it type game. I'm hoping it's close. I'm hoping it's a good game. I hate, as much as I love football and I love the commercials during the Super Bowl, although a lot of them now you see before, they leak them before. So this not as exciting.
They've dropped off, I think.
But I want to see a good game.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're sports fans. We want to see like good action on the field.
Yeah.
We don't get that from our own team. So we just want to see that.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to squeak it out.
I just want Travis Kelce because Jason ain't going to win it. So I really want Travis Kelce to win MVP.
I mean, they each got one right now, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess
I'm saying, Jason, there's no way a center will ever win a Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, correct.
But Travis Kelce catches 3 touchdowns, 100 yards, he's winning the MVP.
Yeah.
And he's more than capable of it.
What Attitude Era wrestler does he quote if he wins MVP? Then is a question to be answered.
Ooh, who would he quote? Because he's going to quote a wrestler.
Well, yeah, he quoted The Rock for the Cincinnati mayor. Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
That was
loved
great.
it. I loved every second of that. I don't know.
I'm going to maybe he'll quote Steve Austin.
No, that'd be good.
I don't know what he would say.
You guys don't have to predict. I'm just saying, like, what I'm interested. Like, that's a question that if he wins MVP, I would love to see, or just any post game interview. I'd love to see if his team wins. He's all hype.
We need to get those guys on the show. Like that would be a dream interview to get both of them on.
Pool. That'd be a heck of a pool. We'll see. My prediction. I'll go Chiefs 34, Eagles 31. I don't like. I have no rooting interest.
Bet the Eagles is all we're saying.
So if you're gonna put money on it, go with the Eagles.
We all went Chiefs, so yeah, bet on the Eagles. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of prop bets outside of the game that you can bet on as well. National anthem, halftime show, all of that kind of stuff. Do it, of course. Bet responsibly. There are the 1-800-GAMBLER and all that kind of stuff. Just a general PSA. We're not sponsored by anybody. It's just a helpful general PSA as gambling does take off here in the state of Ohio. But we have to take off and out of the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks, February 19th. live at 7 p.m. So enjoy your week. Enjoy the rest. Enjoy next weekend as well with the big game for Always Positive Jay. Thank you to Tony Grossi for coming on from ESPN Cleveland, their Browns analyst. To our producer extraordinaire audio, better known as Peter Tellep, I'm Kevin All, reminding all of you, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. We truly love you all 3,000.
Don't talk about it. Be about it.
And live your life. All gas, no brakes. We will see you in 2 weeks right here on the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.